Welcome back and good morning, America. It's Hugh Hewitt in the ReliefFactor.com studio, West Coast. So pleased to welcome for the first time, and I hope he comes back often, Indiana's Attorney General Curtis Hill. General Hill, welcome. It's great to have you.
Hugh, great to hear you.
I have often had Mark Brnovich and Scott Pruitt and Dave Yost on. I think attorney generals of the states are our first line of defense. But I've got to admit, Dave Yost and I are a little bit surprised that Indiana is a degree-granting institution. We didn't know that.
Well, I understand you have an Ohio root, so we have a lot to talk about.
Well, I hope David comes over and teaches you about football, because I don't think the whole state should give up on football the way it has for the last 25 years. General, I want to talk to you about three things. The emergency declaration by the president, your appeal to Catholics who may have been abused by their diocese, and then I want to talk to you about a story in the New York Times this morning. But let's start with the emergency declaration. What's your position on the president's invocation of the 1976 authority?
The president is absolutely within his authority. A lot of people are making a mistake of believing that the president has exceeded executive authority under the Constitution, which isn't the case at all. The president, in invoking the National Emergencies Act, has done what every president since 1976 has done in the sense of using the act. And in this particular instance, we need to recognize that this is a congressional act. This is legislation that directly provides the President of the United States with authority to declare an emergency. And that emergency declaration is not defined by Congress. It's within the discretion of the President. So whether or not someone agrees or not is an entirely different matter, but the fact remains that the President of the United States does have the authority to make a declaration of an emergency. And if you look at the basis of that, we clearly have a crisis at the southern border made primarily by Congress's inaction over the last several decades to address the issue.
And, General, I got to tell you, I teach con law out here in Chapman the first quarter of the year. And I go to them, I say to them, you might not like this emergency declaration, but this law has been used, I think, 36 plus times by presidents since 1976, and it's a delegation of legislative authority to the executive, which I'm not a big fan of, but it exists in the law. This is not a constitutional crisis.
That's exactly right. And if Congress doesn't like what they did, guess what? Congress has the ability to go back in and do something different. The fact remains that it's there. It's authority provided the president by Congress, and he's used it properly.
Okay. Have you taken this position in court, by the way? Have the Hoosiers gone into court to side with the president in the challenges to his invocation?
We've not yet gone into the court. In fact, we've looked at the challenges. We think they're meritless. So we're waiting to see what occurs moving forward, but we're certainly watching the situation.